Good morning. My name is Dana and this is Valley Girl Journal. And I'm starting a YouTube channel to start sharing about my life, how adoption affected me. I'm writing a book about it. I've got journals going all the way back to 2007 that I'm going to be turning into a book. I started self-discovery in 2014 and this is my story, my adoption story. So what I'm going to be doing today is just showing a bunch of pictures. I've recently been seeing a lot of people posting about trauma bonding, and this morning as I was doing the dishes, it really hit me that what trauma bonding is, and in not a not so perfect explanation of it is that you bond with strangers, with the moments of your trauma. I'm not explaining it perfectly, but this is my birth mother. This is me. I was born November of 65, and that's my birth grandmother right there. That was my first Christmas. So I was with my birth mother for the first 5.5 months of my life. And then she gave me up for adoption to Elliott County Children's Services. I won't go into the story too much right now, but what I'm doing right now is just sharing a lot of pictures. So I went from bonding with my birth mother to, being taken to Elliott County Children's Services for at age 5.5 months, and then let me pull out a little bit. And then I'm just going to turn this a little bit. And then there we go. And then I was in foster care for 4 months in LA County. And then I was adopted at 10 months old. They changed my name. And, my whole life, they never gave me any information, my adoptive parents. This is my grandmother, my birth mother's mother, and my grandfather. And they're somewhere in LA. This was 1943-44. She was a professional pianist for a big band. Can't really remember the name. I'll get into that later. It was like the Glenn Miller Band or the something Miller Band. I really don't remember. Okay. So I'm not going to really show a lot of birth family pictures right now. I'm going to just talk about my personal dealings with trauma bonding. So like it hit me this morning doing the dishes. I trauma bonded. And for me, what that means is that I bonded in the middle of my trauma. I bonded in the middle of my trauma as a tiny baby, being separated from my birth mother, my birth grandmother, put into a stranger's home for foster care, and then this is my adoptive mother and my adoptive father, obviously at different times, but they adopted because he couldn't have kids. He had a vasectomy. He had already had 2 daughters from a previous marriage, and so they decided to adopt. And I trauma bonded with these perfect strangers. Like, I don't know how to explain it much more, but, I went straight from my birth mother to a stranger in foster care to another stranger. And I have a really great song that goes with that. But that's for another time. But that's us in Mexico camping. And I'm learning as I dig deeper into my self-discovery. I'm learning about trauma bonding and about myself. That's me and my adopted brother. He had completely different birth parents. I recently found his birth parents and some half-siblings of his. That's him there. Okay, let's just go through some pictures. That's me. I don't know. Probably 9th grade. That's my adopted father. He looks great. He looks amazing. LA County Sheriff Detective. He worked on the Charles Manson case. But I didn't know him. They just put me into a home of people I didn't know. No biological connection, no connection of any sort. And I am just put into their home. Like, the smells are all different. This is them older. The smells are different. Everything's different. And like my adopted mom, I hated how she smelled. And I know that it is because I bonded with the smell of my tribe, my family, for 5.5 months. I bonded. I have more baby pictures, lots of birth family pictures. But yeah, that's me as a little girl. You can see I was well taken care of. We were a little bit more than middle class. I mean, I had everything I needed. I grew up in Newhall. So these are my adopted father's 2 daughters. And so they were like major teenagers when I was adopted. That's my adopted brother. That's my adopted parents again. And trauma bonding. It's like I said, it just hit me this morning. I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. This is my cousin. Again, not biologically connected to any of these people. Royal Gauze. That's my adopted family when I was young. Great photo. We all look amazing. Like everything is great. And it is. But deep down, these kids are struggling with the grief of losing our birth mother and our birth father. But you can't see it. You'll see it later in life. You might see it some at this age. That's my adopted mom. You might see it. It grows. It grows like a poison, you know. And then when some of us come out of the fog, you know. So this is all adopted family. So that's my adopted mother. That's her best friend, who we called Aunt, and that's my adopted father's sister. So Marjorie Gauze. And I trauma bonded with all of these people that didn't smell like me, didn't look like me. I couldn't mirror them. Cousins, that's my cousin Peter, his wife, Bonnie, their son Chad, my Aunt Marge. Aunt Marge, Peter, I mean, trauma bonded. And now that I think about the trauma bonding, oh my God, I have so much going through my head right now. That's me. My grandma, which is his mom, and her mom, and then my adopted mom. And the sad part about it is I grieve all of these adopted family members in different ways that I grieve my birth parents, because I trauma bonded with all of these people. And then when my adopted parents died, all these people went away. A whole new level of grief and depression, and I don't know what else to say. But that's Royal and that's Peter. Their mom is her. Okay, Royal and Peter. She had one older son named Gary. So that's me. That's my adopted brother. This is in West Hollywood. It's a picture of my aunt and her son. So this is us in North Hollywood at my aunt's house, Aunt Marge. And this is her house. And so she had a pool in the back, but we didn't meet her until I was about like 12, because my dad and her were in a fight. My adopted dad and her were in a big fight, fighting over their dead father's ring when he died. So that's a whole nother story. But Royal, I mean, I bonded with him You have to call it trauma bonding because they're not your biological family. Maybe not so much at a deeper, maybe at a less of a level of trauma bonding, like cousins that you're adopted into, that are in your adopted family. I'm just learning as I'm talking. But, I mean, I was so religious in my life, like 14 years ago and previous, that I tried to talk to him over the years, and then he just didn't want anything to do with me after I contacted him because I was so religious. I was an idiot. But, I didn't see him for many, many, many years. I mean, I haven't seen him probably since he was that age, That's my mom and my aunt, Aunt Jan, Aunt Marge. That's Christmas in Newhall. That's Marge's husband. So those two were married. And that's my adopted brother, my adopted mom. That looks like Christmas, maybe. No, not Christmas. Probably Adam's birthday in August. Aunt Marge, my grandma. That's our house on DeSeta Drive in Newhall, California. That's a picture of my adopted mom when my adopted dad died. And soon after that, she died, and then soon after that, she died. So, sisters and brothers, adopted dad, his sister. There she is again, Marjorie Gauze. Okay, so let's find more photos. We're just going to kind of yank them out here and look. That's me and my adoptive parents. And, I did have a great life. I had all the clothes that I wanted. We raised sheep in 4-H. Oh, that's later. I can't even look at that picture. Our grandmother, his mom, lived in Mission Hills on Brand Boulevard. What was I going to say? I was going to say that, we had everything. I had everything that I wanted, but in the mix with that is all of the grief and the loss and the depression and the rage of not knowing who your birth family is. Wondering when you're walking through Macy's, is one of these women my mother? Nordstrom's, Robinson's May back in the day. At the Chanel, Coco Chanel, makeup, like Clinique. My adopted mom used to buy Clinique all the time. All I was doing was searching for somebody that looked like me. My birth mother. And my birth mother lived in Glendale. So I probably walked right by her at one point during my first 13 years. Or at least got close. I mean, we trauma bond, and it's so complicated. That's me and my Aunt Jan, me and my adopted brother, me. That's in Newhall. That's a joke book, I believe, and we were reading jokes to each other. Adopted father, me. Adopted brother, me. Adopted grandma. And so, in light of this beautiful life that I had with all the dresses that I wanted, all the hair bows that I wanted, all the gifts that I wanted at Christmas, in the mix, Holly Hobby, was all of the underlying trauma that was just right there, right under the surface. Right under the surface. Right under the surface. When I was in high school, I started hitting the tops of my legs to the point where they would bruise, to the point where my friends would say, Missy, what are those bruises on the tops of your legs this age? And I would sit in my room and just be so mad that I didn't know who my mostly birth mother and birth father were. It tore me up. It it changed me. It changed me. It ruined me. It wrecked me. It tortured me. So that's one of my dad's daughters. She never had kids. He had 2 kids. She's dead. They're both dead. Me and Joseph, his wife. You know, and that was our house in Northern California. That was our house in Newhall on Desetta Drive in Oak Ridge. That's the first house we moved to in San Diego. Another house in San Diego in Oceanside that we lived in. Northern California house. I mean, we just had everything. But underneath, we needed something else. We needed people to be talking to us about the fact that we were adopted and maybe giving us pictures. Some point of contact where we didn't have to imagine everything, because that's what we did. I was asking Ouija boards at this age what my birth mother's name was at slumber parties when my parents weren't around. That's what I was doing. That's what I was doing. That's my Uncle Carl in Placerville. Again, no biological, but highly, highly trauma bonded with all of these people. He died a long time ago. That's his wife, Jan, Carl Mignocco, me, adopted brother, family, Irene DeHart from, I forget what state she lives in. We took a trip across the USA. Oh man, I loved that shirt. That was a dress that I wore as a shirt after that. Loved it. This is my Aunt Jan. This is Northern California. This is probably, let's see, I moved there in 7th grade, 8th grade. So this is probably me in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade. And, you know, that's me with the stuffed animal. That's younger in Newhall. Me. I was 10 months old when I was adopted, and that's pretty close to right when I was adopted. And look, all these strangers. All these strangers. Just look. Do you think I felt connected? All the smells were different. All their faces were different. All their voices were different. Their mannerisms were different. Everything changed. Like, bam. First the foster family, then the adopted family. All in 10 months. That's me and a doll and family friends. I'm not sure who those kids are. I have it written down somewhere. A doll that they gave me. Backyard. Traveling. Me. My Aunt Jan from North Hollywood. Royal, her son. My adopted brother. I mean, we had it. We had the mix of this beautiful family. They're all pretty. They all look really good. But this woman was in distress. And her mother was married to a different guy. And her new husband told my mom, hey, either Lynn goes or her baby goes. She didn't have a choice. She didn't have a choice. So I got adopted. There's me right there. So I got adopted so that I would have a better life. A better life without my biological tribe. Without my biological family. School, living room. This was better for me. It was better for me because I had Legos. I had beautiful pink, purple socks. I had lovely dresses. It was better than this. It was better than being with her. Because she didn't have any money. She didn't have any way to keep me. Look at all the presents. She couldn't give me all those presents. Look at all my friends. Look at all my presents. She couldn't give me all of that. My doll. another birthday, Christmas. Let's see. I gotta scroll through some of these pictures. That's me little, me and my adopted brother. This is us on a trip, meeting relatives. I have a whole story about that. If I find the picture, I'll show you. This is Missouri, meeting all of my adoptive parents' relatives, going to all of my adoptive parents' gravestones. Yes. Let's see, church, the bane of my existence, being indoctrinated there. 4-H in LA County. My dog named Cindy. My grandma, again, my dad's mom. That's a Madame Alexandra doll. My mom collected those for me. And the really small, the small ones. Well, they were more like about, I don't know, 5-6 inches. I had a whole slew of those. Look how cozy everybody is. Look how cozy we are. But what's happening in these brains? What's happening in their brains? Does anybody care what's happening in our brains? Does anybody care? More relatives. First day of school. Traveling in St. Paul, Minnesota. Look, there's my head. This is the street we lived on, Deseta Drive in Newhall, California, which is now Santa Clarita Valley. And we were having a Kool-Aid stand. I mean, she couldn't provide a house like this. She couldn't provide a street like this with all these friends. She didn't have any money. And she was being abused by her father. She was being molested by her father. Yes. So was her sister? Yes. Her father went to prison for molesting the neighbor children on Vine Street in Los Angeles. She was not a fit mother. Somebody else was a fit mother. Killing bugs with magnifying glasses. Look at that beautiful birthday cake. It's so pretty. I think those were ballerina candles. It's good that she didn't keep you. Look, the trauma bonding is good. The trauma bonding is going well. It looks great. Look, she's smiling. She's smiling. Look at the little duckies. The little family. That's my mom, adopted mom's dad. That's just a friend. That's me. Playing. My dad's retirement dinner. My adoptive dad's retirement dinner. He retired from LA County Children's Services. This is in LA somewhere. My Aunt Jan, me and my brother. Family. Adopted family. Trauma bonding. There is me right there. Trauma bonding. What else can we find? Okay, there's a little bit of a later picture. Look, we still look great from, baby to, a young woman. You're still looking good. It looks like you still have it all together, girl. You're going to go places. All that religion inside of you, that's going to be so good for you. You're going to stay with a suicidal man for 14 years and try to save him because you have so much religion in you. And you know what? He's going to murder his third wife. And then he's going to murder himself. That's what religion is going to do for you. Yeah. It's going to be so good for you. You're never going to stop praying for him. You're never going to stop praying. And then when it really starts to get rocky and rough, you're going to finally leave him. But all those years that you stayed and prayed, she couldn't have provided that for you. She wasn't going to church. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show some pictures of some really good friends of mine. No, because that doesn't have to do with trauma bonding. Never mind. Okay. There's, looks like Christmas, snow in Los Angeles, me doing leather woodworking stuff, Christmas. Look, I look so healthy. Newhall, California. Oh, here's a good one. Look how beautiful and happy and healthy, and we look so good with our adopted family. We look really good. We've all got blonde hair. We're white. We've got on perfect clothes. We've got the tents and the towels. We're not trauma bonding. We're good. We just detached and have a whole new life. Right? We're good. Adoption did this. Look at how good we look. This is just not scripted, people. I'm just talking. I am going through my self-discovery right in front of your eyes, expounding on trauma bonding. On the swing set in the backyard, that's me and brother. Let's see. That's in San Diego, shortly after we moved here. Trauma bonding. You know, as I'm looking at these pictures, this is helpful. You guys, when you're ready, do this, because these pictures will help you to process your life, your adoption, your grief, your pain, your rage. Yes, we have rage. But look at how perfect that is. We're playing Legos right in the front in Newhall. This is Daysetta Drive. Way up at the top was Sandy and Joey and Marissa's house. Raul and Mike Nicolaitis lived right up there. The Colfs lived kitty corner. You know? But then when I started to grow up, yeah, it didn't work out too well when I started wanting to know things about my adoptive parent, my birth parents. They did not want to tell me anything. They told me like the bare minimum. They had all of my information on what my birth name was. Dana Denise Elliott, the whole 14 years that I searched for my birth family. Yeah. 14 years before the internet. So first you have the trauma bonding, then you have the adoptive parents that are just lying to your face because they need this picture. They need this picture to be perfect. It's the same thing that my birth father's wife did, and we'll get into that another day. Everything's got to be perfect, beautiful. Can't mess this up. Can't let her know about her birth mother. That could not happen, because this woman is a piece of shit. You can't know anything, honey. You're just gonna know us. They even told me that I was Swedish, which they didn't know. I was Finnish, but they led me to believe that I was Swedish till I found my birth mother and my birth father. They just wanted me in their little, they wanted me to be who they were. And that is not what adoption is all about. You don't get to do that to people. Camping. See? Look how great we look. Look how much we're connecting. Look how much we're connecting. See, these kids are good. Look how they're connecting. Look at her graduation from Wiley Canyon Elementary School in Newhall, California. She did a speech. Look how good adoption is for her. Trauma bonding. Bleh. Yeah, God only knows. Trauma bonding. I'm learning about it. I'm processing it right now. Realizing how I have to heal. So this is a house that my adopted dad built us 2 playhouses. This was mine, it was pink, and that was my brother's. In our backyard. 23837 Daysetta Drive, Newhall, California, 91321. Me, birthday, Sandy Adrian. Family, adopted family. Oh, these are the Madame Alexander dolls that my mom collected for me that I threw away when she died. I mean, I heard a girl on TikTok talking about how she threw her adoptive dad's ashes away, and I really, really connected with that. Like, if I only had been able to toss my adoptive parents' ashes, like, down a fucking well or something like that. So that hat is a nightcap from one of my slumber parties in Newhall. And I don't know why it's on his head, but that's the age where I was at these slumber parties. You know, we had huge slumber parties at our friend's house back in the 70s. And that was where, up at the top of Oak Ridge, we had, I swear there must have been 30 of us girls. Campfire girls, you know, we were all so connected. But yeah, I was asking the Ouija board what my birth mother's name was. Look, she's a rainbow girl. She's a rainbow girl. She's good. She's adjusted. Look at her life. Look at how amazing she is. She's got all these friends. Adopted mom, birth mom. I mean, that was right after I was adopted. Let's see, June of 68. That was probably just when they printed the photo. I don't know, I might have been 3, but yeah. I mean, so adjusted. Nothing's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with these adopted kids. We are the medicine that they needed. And we are the medicine. They needed some religion. They needed some camping in Mexico. Here's some family, grandma, me, Royal, Peter, my adopted brother. Rainbow girls. I was the grand page to the grand worthy advisor, Sandra Little, in Rainbow. I think this was, I don't know, 82, 83, right around there. Look how high I got up. I mean, I was grand page to the grand worthy advisor. Man, this adoption is going great. You would have never gotten there if you had stayed with your birth mother. We had to do the right thing. We had to put you somewhere where you could become this. You can't become anything if you stay with your birth mother. You're not going to become anything. I feel some cynicism today. You think? Birthday. Rainbow girls. Grandma in Mission Valley in LA. Road trip for my adopted mom and dad to meet all their relatives. There's a whole story behind that. Me and Kelly, she lived next to me. I found her a few years ago. We were buddies. Kelly Morgan, we were buddies. My brother, adopted brother, 4-H. Look at how well she's adjusting. Okay, we're processing. Family friend, Reed, I believe that was his name. Oh, by the way, I was just surrounded with all these old people because my adopted parents were 45 and 49 when they adopted me. So everybody was old. I'm not against old people. I'm 59. I'm just saying that was my life. Everyone was old. Me and my adopted brother at my grandma's house, Rainbow Girls, doing a fashion show. Me and my friend Dina. I love Dina. She's amazing. So well adjusted. I was so good. Look, I was so well adjusted. Okay, I gotta move this pile or it's gonna fall over on me. Okay. Me and Kelly, Newhall, California, Desada Drive. Easter. I mean, racetrack. Christmas parade in Newhall. Me and Kelly. And look at that beautiful birthday cake. All of this could have never been provided by the birth mother, because the birth mother just did not have... Look, she got pregnant without being married. You think she can turn her child into, crystal and beautiful cake? You think she could do that? She can't do that. Only adoptive parents can do that because they have money. Traveling, they have money. And there's April. April Kolf was my absolute best friend in Newhall. Me holding my dolly. Okay, so these are my adopted father's 2 daughters that were this age when I was adopted. So, we were being merged into this. We never lived with them, but this was what they were trying to merge. All these strangers. All these strangers, trauma bonding. So, in my brain the whole time was, while I was forced to bond with these strangers, was, where's my mom? Where's my dad? Why doesn't anybody sound like me? Why doesn't anybody look like me? Where are they? I was told when I was 5 that I was adopted, and I went around telling people I wasn't born. I did not understand being adopted. Our sleepy time gal, Missy, Easter vacation 1972. And now my adopted parents are dead, and here I am just throwing them under the bus. No, I'm not throwing them under the bus. I am educating people. We are educating people because this scenario has to revolutionize. It has to change. And people have to understand that this little Finnish girl, has to have more if you're going to adopt. And there's so much to say. Like, adoption shouldn't even be the first thing that we do. I won't get into all of that right now. Yosemite, I believe. I love, love, love this picture. I mean, we traveled everywhere. Certainly, there was nothing wrong. Look at the amazing places she got to go to. Letters to Santa. Pretty much got whatever we wanted. Camping. Icing. I was making an icing topping thing. Camping. Christmas. Some of these are duplicates. The zoo. The donkeys in Mexico. Camping. That's my amazing teacher, Mr. Warner. We all adored him, left him Wiley Canyon School. He lives up in Big Bear now. But we all have to tell our stories if you are ready. Everybody that tells their story about being adopted is going to change the world. So there's me a little older. That's probably me as a senior in high school. My mom's best friend, adopted mother, adopted father. There's that cake. Christmas. Me and my adopted mom, we did not have a good relationship. She was so overbearing. It was absolutely fucking ridiculous. It was really hard. It was really hard. There's my first car. My adopted dad painted that. Camping, traveling. Oh, it looks like it's probably a California mission. Look, she's giving a speech at her graduation at Wiley Canyon School. Let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9. This was 6th grade. Yep. So what was it? Maybe 76. Oh, me and Doreen. I do love this picture. She was a schoolmate. We did this bulletin board together. We were at the beach a lot. 4-H. Christmas. Baking things at the fair. There's my adopted dad. Trauma bonding. See, this is a huge thing for me because I am, I'm definitely processing things I need to process. That is for sure. San Francisco. Me and Kelly. Me playing. We were at a lake there. You know, it's just all of our stories are going to make a difference. This was in Mexico, and I believe that's my Aunt Peggy, my 4th birthday, March of 69. Yeah. Me and David Kolf, who also lived on Deseta Drive, who was also one of my best friends, April's brother. And, you know, because of all of the abuse that I went through and because I stayed with my abuser for so long, I know that that's why certain people didn't want to be around me. Yep. And I lost relationships because I was so freaking religious and freaking stupid. And, you know, none of that helped me. It just, all the religion just helped me to be a crazy Pentecostal person and drive all of my friends away. Camping. Rainbow Girls. All right, so I'm going to end this in just a second. Oh, look, that was my bedroom when I was young. That was a beautiful lake in St. Paul, Minnesota that we went to. Again, these are relatives of my adopted mother that she was going out to see. And yeah. When I find the right picture, I will tell my story about my adopted parents searching for their family, but you have to have the picture to understand it. But it's in here somewhere. I think I was feeding my baby doll. Grandma Anderson, Aunt Jan. Oh, there's another later picture of me and my adopted parents. Yep. That was I married? I think that was right around when the year that I met Mike and got married. So this is probably 87. Because my hair was shorter like that. It was shorter like that. Christmas. Camping. One of the rare times that it snowed in Los Angeles. Christmas. Oh, there's Royal and me and my adopted brother eating the gingerbread house. You know, and it's just a good thing because my birth mother just did not have what it takes. She didn't have money. She didn't have the means to take care of me. Plus, she had a baby 14 months before me that was my half brother, and a baby 17 months after me that is my half sister. So, you know, with her, you know, sleeping around and getting pregnant, she has no reason to be actually raising one of those babies. But we won't talk about the men that were impregnating her. We won't talk about them at all. No, we'll just put everything on her. This is the life that adopted kids get to leave. They get clothes, get to lead. They get presents. They have pretty clothes. That was me shortly after I was adopted. Oh yeah, I was adopted in September of '66, and that is probably very close to the day that I was adopted. I do have the picture of my first day with my adopted parents. But look, what a great life. What a great life. On the swing shortly after I was adopted. You know, look at what a great life adoption gave me. Except inside, I was tortured. I was absolutely tortured. How do you say it? Like subconsciously I was being tortured. And you don't, and then when that subconscious finally comes out when you get older and you give it space and you give it room to speak, that's my adopted brother. Everything starts to change. That's us, me and my adopted brother, shortly after I was adopted. And I'm going to hang it up now. I'll come back and do more, but I think somebody's here at my house, so I will let you go for now. Oh, look, there's me and April. Me and April. All right, signing out. See you guys soon.